And Jessica Taneja joins us on the story now for some perspective and more details. Jessica, Israel and Hamas have reportedly agreed to the first phase of a Gaza ceasefire aimed at ending the conflict in Gaza. What exactly has been agreed upon so far? In particular, what does it mean for the hostages and the inhabitants of Gaza?
Well, Hamas was holding on to those last hostages that it had taken from Israel about 2 years ago when this entire conflict re-affected the entire region of West Asia. And those were about 20 hostages still remaining, where the question also remains on the others who are not believed to be not alive, but their remains also should be returned to their family members back in Israel. And in exchange, Israel would release more than 2,000 Palestinian prisoners, as well as 350 more Palestinians who have been serving life sentence in Israeli prisons for various charges. With this particular point being stressed on when it comes to the hostages being released, and the reason Hamas was holding on to these hostages for last minute negotiations was the fact that this was their last guarantee. With the way the Israeli strikes on the Gaza Strip have taken place in the last few months, and in fact in the last 2 years, it was perhaps one of the contentions, and the Israelis continued with their bombing of Gaza in order to eliminate the militants of Hamas who had been repeatedly targeting Israelis, as well as the hostages that they were taken in back then when they had attacked Israel on October 7 in 2023. So apart from the exchange of the hostages as well as the Palestinian prisoners held by Israel, an important aspect of this deal is also the disarmament of Hamas and the military withdrawal of the Israeli forces. Now, in the first phase, we're given to understand from the 20-point plan that US President Donald Trump unveiled last week was that the military would initially withdraw partially, the Israeli Defense Forces is what I mean, and the later stages of the plan would then ensure that all of these mechanisms that have been put in place are guaranteed. And in terms of security guarantees in the region, you see the deal has been backed by 8 Muslim nations as well as the Arab nations, that includes Turkey, who has been part of the mediation efforts, Egypt, as well as Qatar, which is recently attacked by Israel in order to target Hamas officials. And all of the turn of events just go on to make us understand that this does look like, at least temporarily, would go on to ensure. But there are points of contentions. We will have to wait and see on how those unravel in the future, and if this peace deal can actually last longer than the ones that have been designed or agreed in principle before this.
We leave it here. Thank you very much, Jessica Taneja, for those details and analysis.